What is going on, guys? MMA Island team. We got the fight picks, and we got Antonina Shevchenko taking on Ariane Lipski in the UFC 255 card, headlined by Davison Figueiredo taking on Alex Perez. Very, very interesting fight. Antonina Shevchenko, Ariane Lipski. We're passing on to Zach to start us off.
So the lesser Shevchenko, Antonina Shevchenko, is coming back in her fight against the violence queen Ariane Lipski. And it's just kind of night and day how much better Valentina is than her sister. It's kind of shocking, honestly, because we know that Antonina Shevchenko is just flat out useless on her back. Her ground game is terrible, absolutely abhorrent. She should have stuck with kickboxing, if I'm being completely honest. And Antonina, I'll give it to her. She is a very, very good kickboxer. And Ariane Lipski is going to want to strike with her. Now, this may sound familiar to some people because that was kind of the criticism against Ariane Lipski when she first came in, that she was useless on the ground. But Ariane Lipski is only useless off of her back. Her top pressure is amazing. On the top, her jiu-jitsu is quite awesome, and we could see that in her last brutal win over Luana Carolina. That was terrifying. She bent that knee backwards, and oh my God, I still have nightmares about it sometimes. That was absolutely brutal, giving the Violence Queen a whole new name. And we know on the feet that she is really sharp as well. And this fight on the feet is going to be an insanely fun kickboxing battle. But I do think Ariane Lipski goes for takedowns. And that's what I think is going to decide this fight. Because we know that Antonina Shevchenko, when she gets on her back, she can't do anything. Roxanne Modafferi exposed this. Caitlin Chookagian exposed it even more. And I was kind of embarrassed. I will never pick Antonina Shevchenko ever again after I made I wanted to pick Caitlin Chookagian, but then I got swayed by the hype a little bit. And I had to pick Shevchenko just because of the name. And I'm not going to do that again. I've taken off the rose-tinted glasses. I'm totally going for Ariane Lipski here. I think that it's competitive on the feet, and the ground difference is too much. I do expect Ariane Lipski to take down Antonina Shevchenko, and I expect Ariane Lipski to submit Antonina Shevchenko. I think she's going to get the win. She's going to get the finish, and the Violence Queen is going to continue on and show that she's not a UFC bust. She just had a really rough start to her career.
Yeah, so first thing I'm going to mention about this one is I don't really like when people say, "Oh, you should never bet on women's MMA." I can see that sort of opinion where people say that because it's never, it could really go one way. This isn't a shot at women for people to say that. I think it's more so just it could be like a weight class, and it's not people hating on a weight class. It's just like when people are saying like certain fights, it's like stay away from them just because you can never know what could happen. I've heard people even say that about heavyweight, but match Francis Ngannou above somebody who thinks they're a good striker, and then you'll find out about that. But man, Antonina Shevchenko, as I mentioned about don't bet on WMMA, the main thing about that is I don't like people saying that. The main thing I think is don't make WMMA your lock, because I learned that the hard way, and I picked Antonina Shevchenko to be my lock over Caitlin Chookagian. And what do you know? Caitlin Chookagian just takes her down, holds her there, and holds her there, and holds her there, and fight's over. So yeah, she gets a unanimous decision win, and that sucked. It's so painful, man, especially coming from like a grappling wrestling type of style that I favor the most in fighters, and I love to study the most in fighters. It's painful to watch a kickboxer be put on their back, and then you want them to win because you put them up in such high praise, and they don't. It sucks. So not making that mistake again, as Zach is as well, and I will be going with Ariane Lipski on this one. You mentioned it. Her last fight, Luana Carolina, the knee bar, man. I went back and forth in that fight, and I didn't know who to pick before that fight happened. And I ended up picking Lipski. Thank God I did, because wow, a minute and a half in, and she pulls off a crazy knee bar. It was a weird knee bar because it wasn't like a traditional knee bar to the point where it's like you grab the leg, you pull over. They were tied up to the point where it was almost like a backwards calf slicer. And it was like she just pulled on, and it was just like as if it was right in front of her, and she just pulled it back. Okay, it keeps going. Okay, it's gonna snap. It's gonna snap. Luana Carolina screams in pain, and yeah, the fight stopped. Thank God, because that sucked. And if you're talking about from Ariane Lipski's side, that didn't suck at all because that was awesome. Showing her submission style as well, man. Only her third submission in her 18th fight. But again, another thing Zach mentioned is I think that the way to beat Shevchenko is to take her down. In her only two losses in 10 of her fights, the past 2 out of 3 actually, she was taken down and kept down. And that's what won her opponents the fight. So I think that Ariane Lipski has not been one to kind of go out there and take people down, only averaging 0.32 per minute. She's got 100% takedown defense. So that tells me, just from the math, that the only time she ever took down her opponent was in the Isabella de Padua fight. The Padua fight, and she took her down, and that was her only takedown ever in the UFC. So I think that should definitely change in this fight, taking out Shevchenko. Coming from a kickboxing background, man, you want to put on her back, and she kind of wants to make this a mirror image fight with the Luana Carolina fight. I think that's a really good move for her. So hopefully she's able to do it for her sake. I got Lipski on this one. I think it's pretty close, man, honestly, just because you see Lipski, we haven't seen some dominant striking out of Lipski before. As you mentioned, she's kind of had a little bit of a rocky road to start her career. And honestly, going up against McCann and Calderwood to start off your career, a little bit of a tough ask. I think she kind of is built up a little bit more, getting those lower ranked fighters. And even getting a knockdown in her second last fight, and then a crazy submission performance bonus. Awesome. So I think it's close just because we do know that Shevchenko is a very good striker. And who knows, maybe Lipski says, I'm not going to take her down. I want to strike with her. And maybe Shevchenko catches her. But who knows, man? I do want to see some takedown game in this fight, and I think that's a really, really good move for Lipski. Hopefully she does it, and hopefully she gets those takedown numbers up. But yeah, man, I'm going with Lipski, and yeah, we got an agreement on this one. So make sure you guys are just letting us know who you guys got in the comments. Really, really interesting fight. So I want your guys' feedback. Point is, man, make sure you guys are liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and make sure you guys check out the other Fight Pick videos.